Welcome back to Dirty 20, everyone. Today we're going to talk about ways to seamlessly introduce a new party member into your campaign. And stick around till the end if you're an animal lover, because there's some fun stuff up ahead. Let's get on with the show. Thanks for joining us, lovely people. Today we continue on our series of firsts, hopefully helping to guide you over some of those hurdles you may encounter as a first-time dungeon master playing 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. So far, we have covered your first session, as well as your first combat encounter, and your first big bad evil guy. Along the way, we've been building our party of Wolf the Fighter, Leggy the Ranger, Garn the Cleric, and Jim the Wizard. Now, something that's happened to me on more than one occasion is that I've been talking about how amazing this campaign that I'm playing in is and how much I'm enjoying it, and the players seem to be enjoying it, and someone has said, hey, that sounds really cool. Could I try it? Now, this is great. The more people who try D&D, the better, in my opinion. But I would give a couple of warnings. First, adding a new player character to the party is going to change the balance of combat encounters. It might take a couple of encounters where the bad guys might get completely pummeled before you kind of find that sweet spot again. And make sure that you don't overcompensate, because that can lead to the dreaded TPK. The other really important thing, I think, is to find a way to weave that new character into the narrative of the story in a satisfactory way. I have had mixed success with this, to be honest, and when it hasn't gone well, it's kind of put a crimp in the campaign. So I thought we would talk about some of the ways that you can introduce a new player character, putting your best foot forward. In a previous character building section, we actually already built a potential addition to the party in Sorsha, the Tiefling Bard. So let's imagine that we want to introduce her into the party in a session. First of all, we could use the trick that we used for our big bad evil guy. So if you remember, our party had dealt with some bandits who they had come across in their search for the local lord's daughter. After dispatching them, they found a prisoner tied up. Now, in our previous video where we talked about villains, we said that this could be an introduction for an evil guy who's going to join the party for a little while and then maybe betray them later down the line. But equally, the same trick can be used to introduce a new player character. Now, this is a great way to introduce a character. It immediately kind of creates a bond between the party and the new character because they've just rescued them, right? I always like handing over the description of the character, of what the players see, what their characters see when they first come across that character, because that's a kind of nudge and a wink saying, okay guys, this is your new party member. It's a quick and easy way to intro that character. Another possibility is to have them encounter each other and actually get into a little fight before everyone realizes that they have a goal in common. This could make for some friendly rivalry developed for later on, but I caution you here, I'm not the biggest fan of player versus player, because, things can get crazy when players do what players do. Perhaps the biggest thing that any new character must have is a reason to adventure with the party. Now, I know that might seem like really basic, but don't get me wrong, you can just kind of wave it away and say, okay, you found this person and they're going to join you because they're just going to join you. We're all going to accept this premise and continue with the story. And in all likelihood, your players won't really mind. But for a satisfying narrative, which for me is the real kind of win condition for this game, I think you will be much happier if you put some thought and effort into weaving the character into your narrative rather than just plopping them in. So there are some suggestions for that inevitable day where someone says, I've heard about D&D and I'd like to try it. Can I join you, please? But the other thing I wanted to talk to you about today was animals and D&D. I recently got a hold of a book called Campaigns and Companions. It is illustrated by Callum Alexander Watt and written by Andy Ewington and Rhianna Pratchett. This little book has some really inspirational images, and after watching the documentary Eye of the Beholder, The Art of Dungeons and Dragons, which I strongly recommend, I was reminded about how important illustrations and artwork is for RPGs and D&D in particular, for me. But that is probably a video for another day. I also really love the humor in this book, and particularly this one. GM, you arrive at a large wooden door. Cat, I scratch at the door. GM, an orc opens it and growls at you to come in. Cat, I do nothing. GM, he growls at you to come inside again. Cat, I do nothing. GM, eventually the orc gives up and slams the door shut. Cat, I scratch at the door. I love that. I just think it's really funny. And it has lots of little bits of humor, and like I said, the illustrations are just amazing. And all of this reminded me about something that I had bought in the past that I kind of wanted to talk to you guys about, and that is Dungeons and Doggies. I first came across these miniatures when the gaming store I was working at started selling them. Essentially, they're different breeds of dogs, each with a different class from Dungeons & Dragons. So, for example, you have a Pomeranian monk, a Chihuahua rogue, and my personal favourite, the St. Bernard Cleric. His name is Porkchop, by the way. Made by Steamforged Games, it is essentially a whole new setting. They have a starter set, they have adventure books, and like I mentioned, they also have these miniatures, which is how I first came across them. Now, what is wonderful is that they actually have rules that you can download for free from their website, link in the description down below. And I thought that rather than doing our usual character building section, that we would take a look at one of the additional rules that they give you in this rule set, which is the domain of the companion. Here we are, guys, and we're looking at the Animal Adventures Tales of Dungeons and Doggies, the Rules Companion. Which is a PDF that you can get, and very quickly let's take a look at the contents, where you can see they have suggestions about what kinds of adventures to have with Dungeons and Doggies, and some things to kind of take into consideration. Then they have the dog racial rules for different breeds, different classes. Today, what we're going to focus on is we're going to look at the companion domain, which is every cleric, as we saw when we built our dwarf cleric Garn, gets a domain at level 1. Whereas most other classes choose their subclasses or archetypes at level 3. Although wizards level 2, I think druids as well. It varies, but clerics get it at level 1. And here you get extra spells, you get channel divinities, all this stuff that we're going to take a quick look at. So on page 18 of this PDF, you have the companion domain. There's a little sidebar on canine classes. The companion domain is the first manifestation of canine belief, but there is no reason a non-doggy cleric couldn't access it. As more dogs become adventurers, it is safe to assume that more formal options for canine class options may become available. There may be bardic colleges, druid circles, martial orders, and more as dogs come into their own. The future is bright. So that's cool. I mean, you know, they do expansions. They've just released a new adventure, I believe, which I haven't checked out, but I'm really jazzed about, you know, just playing with animal dogs, and originally I wanted them as just like animal companions. I had a monster hunter halfling who had a bull mastiff essentially, which was a riding dog for him. But then I saw those miniatures, fell in love, and then, you know, campaigns and companions came along and also sparked the imagination. So, let's have a look at some of the things that you get with this domain. So first of all, you get some spells on top of the ones that you can pick. These are given to you kind of automatically as a cleric of this domain. So, you know, first level you would get Guiding Bolt and Healing Word. Healing Word's a great spell. We've talked about it when we built Gun. But what's cool about looking at these different subclasses or archetypes, and we will do more of this in the future, as well as our character building, but it's that you can see kind of where you could take this character if you continued solely on this path. And for example, at 9th level, one of the spells that you get is Gaius, which is a pretty cool spell, I'm not going to lie. It takes 1 minute to cast. It's a range of 60 feet, and it has a duration of 30 days. It's a wisdom save. You place a magical command on a creature that you can see within range, forcing it to carry out some service or refrain from some action or course of activity as you decide. If the creature can understand you, it must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or become charmed by you for the duration. While the creature is charmed by you, it takes 5d10 psychic damage each time it acts in a manner directly counter to your instructions, but no more than once each day. A creature that can't understand you is unaffected by this spell. You can issue any command you choose short of an activity that would result in certain death. Should you issue a suicidal command, the spell ends. You can end the spell early by using an action to dismiss it. A remove curse, greater restoration, or wish spell also ends it, and you can cast it at higher levels. But yeah, this is pretty cool. This is like full control over someone. Now remember, some creatures are immune to charms, so it won't affect them. It also means they have to understand you. Again, in the rules companion, it does actually have rules on, you know, speaking and being an awakened animal, which is all very cool stuff. But I thought that was an interesting spell. Now, aspect of the amicable. When you choose this domain at level 1, you can use the best friend's ability once per short rest. Now, this is something that actually is one of these additional rules or bits that they give you. Essentially, what Best Friend does means you can cast Charm Person once per day, but rather than once per day, you can do it once per short rest. Again, Charm Person, very handy, and I like this. They're really building on the whole, you know, dogs are cute and lovable, and of course they would charm people. But then you have Channel Divinity, Invoke Companionship. Starting at 2nd level, you can use your Channel Divinity to reaffirm your allies' bonds. As an action, you present your holy symbol and evoke a positive energy which can heal and stir your allies. Choose any number of creatures within 30 feet. Each creature affected may gain temporary hit points equal to your cleric level. Now, temporary hit points are always great. Basically it's an extra layer of protection. Now at level 2 it will still only be 2, but that's 2 hit points for everyone that you choose within 30 feet. I think that's actually pretty cool. Also, don't forget that all clerics get the Turn Undead Channel Divinity at level 2, which is just a real classic and a fun one. Now, then later at level 6, for this particular domain, you gain Channel Divinity Lifted Spirits. At 6th level, you can inspire any ally to face down impossible odds and press on in the face of adversity. As an action, you present your holy symbol and nominate one creature within 30 feet. It gains advantage on a saving throw type of your choosing. This effect lasts for 1 minute. For me, this one's a little bit less good. Often at or by level 6, a lot of subclasses kind of get really good. I'm thinking about the Glamour Bard that can essentially cast command at will by level 6. But, you know, you do also get the ability to destroy undead as a cleric at level 5. So, you know, it's not all doom and gloom. But often what this means is that this is what makes the difference between one domain and another, and why you would choose, let's say, the life domain or the grave domain ahead of any of the others. Because some of these abilities, some of these channel divinities are just better than others. I really like Divine Bite. At 8th level, you gain the ability to infuse your bite attacks with the combined strength of your allies. Once in each of your turns, when you hit a creature with a bite attack, you can cause the attack to deal an additional 1d8 piercing damage. When you reach 14th level, the extra damage increases to 2d8. So, again, nice. It's also very thematic. All dogs get a bite attack. Again, it's one of these extra rules that they've thrown in there. And then also leader of the pack is also just really, really flavorful. At 17th level, you gain the ability to command other animals. While creatures are charmed by your best friend's ability, you can take a bonus action on your turn to command what each of those creatures will do on their next turn. So you can actually command them to do things. Now, there are definitely better capstone abilities, or, you know, the abilities that you get when you reach the really high levels. But rarely, if ever, have I reached those heights. And for me, this character, Porkchop, which I'm just 100% going to play, is less of an all-powerful, you know, one of these kind of legendary characters that you take to really high levels, and more of a fun one to kind of enjoy. There we have it, lovely people. Let us know any tips that you might have for starting DMs on how to introduce a new player character into their group. Also, what are your thoughts on campaigns and companions and dungeons and doggies? FYI, they also do a range called Cats and Catacombs. I know. Please give this video a like, subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep slaying. If you've enjoyed this content, then please smash that like button, subscribe, share this around online, and come and visit our website, www.lavictoriaproductions.com, to see all our past episodes, as well as our blog posts and all the stuff that we're currently working on at La Victoria Productions. Why not reach out to us and tell us what you think of our videos? You can reach us on Twitter. @MouthLaVictoria is our producer. We are also on Instagram. I am EnanoLVP, and our producer is Jazzy J Cherot. We're also La Victoria Productions on Facebook and LinkedIn. Come on by and let us know what you think.